A Rotarian since 1991, Stephanie first joined the club of one of my mentors, past RI President Chuck Keller. She is a member of the Rotary Club of McMurray, Pennsylvania, and has served as Rotary as a foundation trustee chair of the Rotary Foundation Centennial Celebration Committee and the Rotary Strategic Planning Committee, member of the Atlanta Rotary International Convention Committee, and Regional Foundation Coordinator. Her service to Rotary has taken her to participate in building a school in Vietnam and in the Dominican Republic to install water filters. She's also is a major donor, member of the Quest Society, and in 2016, she received the Distinguished Service Award by Rotary International. It's my pleasure to have Director Stephanie be our speaker tonight. Welcome, Stephanie, to District 7950.
Thank you very much, Chris. I love it when the introduction is almost as long as the presentation. But thanks for that. And I appreciate your governor, Charlene, inviting me to be with you tonight. And she asked me to talk about the Rotary Foundation. But instead of talking about the structure and policies and all of that, I thought I would approach it from a little different angle. And so I want to ask you if you have ever wondered what exactly matters most to the Rotary Foundation? Is it our areas of focus? Is it annual giving? Is it polio eradication? So to answer that question, I want you to think back to 2 times in your personal history that are significant. One is your birth date, all right? Sarah, you're right below me on the screen. So unmute yourself. Tell us what your month and day of your birth is. Not your year, just the month and the day.
December 18th.
Okay, so on December 18th, in whatever year that was, Sarah was born and the world changed. It's never been the same. And that's true for every single one of us on this call. So our birthdays are important dates in our personal history. But there's a second one that I want you to focus on, and that's the day that you said yes to Rotary, the day that you became a Rotarian. My date is October 1st, 1991. That's the day that I said yes to Rotary. And when you said yes to Rotary on whatever date that was, again, the world changed and it's never been the same. Quick aside, I'll tell you how I actually got into Rotary. I was working at a state university in Pennsylvania, and a woman who had an office in the same building wandered into my office and said, "Hey, Stephanie, would you like to come to a Rotary meeting?" And I looked at her and I said, "What the hell is Rotary?" I had never heard of it. Nobody in my family had ever been in a service club. I just didn't have any idea. My dad owned a business. He would have been a great Rotarian, but nobody had asked him. So Eileen stood there and gave me the elevator speech. And she talked about the service and she talked about the projects. And when she got to the international part, I was hooked. So I went to a meeting and I went to a second meeting. And by the 4th meeting, I was doing the newsletter. A year and a half later, I was club president, and you know, the rest is history. So, but that's how I said yes to Rotary. So Rotary finds us when we both need each other. You know, there's never been a better time than right now for us to be in the business of serving others. I give my time, and to my ability, I give of my resources until it feels good. So Rotary service sometimes makes me laugh. I have lots of funny stories, but sometimes it makes me cry. But what it always does is make me feel good. The benefit I get is psychological. I'm not any wealthier because of Rotary. I don't have more time because of Rotary. But what I do have is something that I call psychic income. Working on behalf of others or for some kind of cause always results in improvements in my own life. I've learned more in volunteer service than I ever learned in a classroom. So while I'm out there trying to change the world, I end up changing myself. And if you have looked at our vision statement, together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change in around the globe, in our communities and in ourselves. That's what those last 3 words are referring to. We have finally recognized in Rotary that when we help others, it not only changes their life, it changes ours. Our immediate past president, Mark Maloney, reminded us that Rotary connects the world. Look at us. I mean, we're all connected here. It's great. Our current president, Holger Knack, notes that Rotary opens opportunities. It gives us a way to do things that we may never have had a chance to do before. I want to share with you just a couple of stories about the Rotary Foundation and why we all do the work of Rotary. So, one of our areas of focus is fighting disease. And of course, polio eradication is our corporate project. In the year 2000, I had a chance to be on a national immunization trip and ended up in India. And the amazing thing about immunization days is that there is such social mobilization. The entire country gets off their couch and they go out. Rotarians are out in the streets, health workers are out in the streets, government workers are out in the streets. So it's not a surprise that on the day that I was in India, 125 million children received polio vaccine that day. It's just astounding. There were a couple of stories about, well, there are lots of stories, but there are a couple that I want to share with you. One of the stops that we made as they took us around, local Rotarians would drive us to the various immunization points. One of them was in a temple. So of course we took our shoes off and we stood there and we were immunizing babies. And when we thought we were done, we packed up everything and we were about to leave. But a Rotarian ran in and said, wait, we can't go yet. And he pointed up behind the temple, and on a hill, there were circus tents. And he said, if there's a circus there are probably transient children. We need to take the carriers and walk up there. And sure enough, we walked up that hill. We got to that circus. We found 9 babies in those tents. If it weren't for the diligence of that Rotarian, those 9 babies would have been missed. So the fact that we have this absolutely amazing social structure that lets us get to all the children who need to be immunized is fabulous. The other story I want to share with you is about the last stop of the day. We were in a slum area, and when we walked to the immunization point, it wasn't quite set up yet. So
I'm not being antisocial. I'm on a Zoom meeting.
That's what you're just saying. You're just saying.
Please mute yourself. Steve, please mute yourself.
Sorry.
Thank you.
So when we got to the point and this spot and it wasn't set up yet, I noticed there was a little girl standing with another lady. She had dark hair. She had big dark eyes. She might have been 5 or so. And she stared at me. And if I walked to the left, she kept staring at me. And if I walked to the right, she kept staring at me. Eventually, the line opened. And sure enough, this little girl ended up right in front of me. And I'm getting ready to give her the drops and she's shaking violently. I mean, just violently. So I said to the woman with her, "Is your child okay?" And she said, "Oh, yes, she's fine, ma'am. You just have to realize she's never seen white skin and yellow hair. You're the boogie woman." So despite being the boogie woman, that little girl did let me put the drops in her mouth. And today she is 31 years old and she's walking through the streets of Mumbai instead of crawling, or instead of having that crippling disease, because of what you and I have done to support our polio eradication program. On another trip that involved the Rotary Foundation, I found myself in Southeast Poland. My grandmother was from Eastern Europe. This is a babushka, and you may have heard that word before. I know it's a vision of loveliness. You can stop laughing. This is a babushka. Babushka is, well, actually the word means two things in Eastern European languages. It means grandmother, or it means the scarf that they wear. So as I was getting prepared to become district governor, Charlene, one of the things that I did was stumble upon this document that talked about a hospital in Southeast Poland that had no mammography equipment. They had a machine, and in 1971, it broke, so they pushed it into a corner. So I did some research. At that time in our country, the survival rate from breast cancer was greater than 75%. And in that part of Poland, it was less than 50%. Now, that's not because they had more cancer. It was because they didn't have early detection, and they were not catching the disease fast enough. And I thought, wow, this is a project that every Rotarian can put their arms around, because everybody has an important woman in his or her life: mother, spouse, daughter, aunt, somebody. So I asked all the clubs in my district to fundraise, and they did. And some of them were very creative. And then we also applied to the Rotary Foundation for what was back then a matching grant. And we were able to get a biopsy unit and the mammography machine. It was manufactured in Germany by Siemens, and they got it into Poland, waived all the taxes, and they sent people to teach the Polish technicians how to operate it. And I was able in the following year to take a friendship team, and we went there for the dedication. Now, the dedication was not just the local Rotarians. The governor of Rotary, who lived way up in the north of the country, came down. The media was there, the bishop of the local area. I mean, it was really a big deal. Our project partner for that was the Rotary Club of Krakow. And so for about 7 years, while that machine had life, they provided the film. Eventually, they went to digital mammography, but while they were doing film, the Rotary Club of Krakow kept track of mammograms. And during that span of 7 years, we know that more than 5,000 mammograms were done. Now think about the lives of Polish women that we help to save because of what you and I do in terms of supporting the Rotary Foundation. You heard Chris talk about the fact that I've been in Vietnam. And the reason I went to Vietnam was to help build a Rotary school. We built the Rotary School of Western Pennsylvania. Now, the Rotary Foundation doesn't fund building, but it does help support supply. So we used the grant from the Rotary Foundation to help get computer equipment. So this school building had 7 rooms. So when we finally got to this school, all the little children were hunched down in the schoolyard waiting for us. Sun's beating down on them. I mean, they were so patient. It took us forever to get there. And so they're waiting for us. When we got there finally for the dedication, it happened. And then the school principal asked the children to take us, grab one of us and take us on a tour of the building. So that's what happened. A little girl came and grabbed my hand. And so we didn't stop in the administration, the little office. We didn't stop in the computer room. We didn't stop in the 2 or 3 classrooms. She took me to the back and she showed me the latrine that was also part of the building. And I said, is this the most important room? She says, oh yes, ma'am, because now we don't have to go out in the rice paddies. So that's why we do the kinds of work that we do in the Rotary Foundation to help change the lives for people that, we may never meet. Now, we don't only work around the globe, we also do work locally. One of the parts of our foundation is a project called Share. When you give to the Rotary Foundation and the annual fund, that money's invested. And then 3 years later, that money comes back to your district so that you can use it to do community projects or international projects. One of the community projects that my club decided to do was to help support feeding our local citizens. So what we did was hire the services of a refrigerated truck. And we sent that truck throughout our community to stop at places that had food that had hit an expiration date, but was still good to be used. I don't know about you, but when I buy a loaf of bread and could sit on the counter for a while and I look at it and the date might be yesterday, but I know it's still good to use. So that's what we were doing, collecting food that still had usable life. We worked with our food bank, and the food bank identified people who were eligible to receive items from the food bank and sent them a notice and told them to come to the location. So on the day that we were distributing this, it was raining. And I had a great big golf umbrella. I was fine. Most of the people who were helping us were Rotaractors. They were sitting in the truck out of the rain. So I was standing by the table with my umbrella, and I noticed a taxi drive in. And out of the taxi, a little woman jumps out. She didn't have an umbrella. She had a rain hat like this, and she had 2 little Walmart bags. So she registered, and then she came up to the table, and I said good morning to her. And I said, you know what? We have some boxes. Let me get you a box. So I got her a wax covered box. It was wet, but I thought it's much better than her 2 little Walmart bags. So she was on one side of the table and I was on my side. And then we moved down the line, and each stop I gave her what was on my table. So that day she got hot dogs, she got potatoes, she got apples. I think she got cabbage, and I can't remember, there was one other thing. So when we got to the end of the line, she looked up at me and she said, "Thank you, honey. I don't have to eat popcorn for dinner." So that's why we do the work of the foundation, to help change lives for people who otherwise don't have the kind of good life that we do. So to bring this back full circle, what does matter most to the Rotary Foundation? So if you've been listening and following these stories, you know that the answer is that you do. You do. We had a president from India whose name was Kalyan Banerjee, and he used to say, you don't have to look around to find what you need for Rotary service because it's inside of you. Inside of you is the strength, it's the love, the motivation to move forward. That's where you look, inside. So you matter to the Rotary Foundation. You matter to Rotary. It's Rotarians like you that pave the way because you get it. It's your passion and your actions that change the world. Whatever you do the world to make the world a better place is what matters to the Rotary Foundation and to those people who benefit by your service and your contributions. So I want to thank you, District 7950, for your presence on this Zoom call, because that tells me that you do believe in, you do support, and you do love the Rotary Foundation. So I hope you will keep loving the Rotary Foundation and keep doing good in the world. So let me stop there, and I will be happy to answer any questions you have about the Rotary Foundation or about anything Rotary. You've got a director on the line, so I'm happy to tackle anything, and hopefully I'll have an answer.
Questions, anyone?
Well, I'll ask a question. So
Okay.
I'm Jennifer Vincent. I'm with the Rotary Club of Fall River, and I'm our foundation chair. My question to you is, I've been the foundation chair and involved with the foundation for about 7 years now. One of the challenges we have is really helping the club understand the foundation and what they do. And so I'm just wondering if you have any advice or suggestions into how we actually just had a foundation meeting before this one. And we were brainstorming ideas about how we could really get club members more engaged in understanding about the RI Foundation.
Generally, the best way to do that is to share stories. You know, as young people, when we're in the playground, you know, we're programmed as young people to tell stories. You know, you run home and you say, "Mommy, mommy, I was on the playground and Johnny hit me." I mean, that's how children take in information. When we end up going to school, we start to learn abstract language. All right. And then that storytelling goes away and things become much more factual. So the best way to share the magic of the Rotary Foundation is to share stories. Now, it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to share a story. You might be sitting there saying, "Well, I haven't gone anywhere. I don't go on these international trips." Doesn't have to be your story. You know, you can find lots of information on the Rotary website about the things that Rotary engages in. You can tell a story. You can share any of the stories I shared with you, but it makes a difference in the hearts of people if they understand what their contribution is doing. So instead of asking for money, we want to ask them to feed a child or to prevent a disease or to help a family obtain clean water. So telling stories is generally a great way to help people understand the work that we're doing.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Stephanie, I have a question.
Yes.
As a director, and you know, you meet other directors and you discuss concerns. What are the top 2 concerns that you're discussing right now?
Growing membership, because in North America we have an unusual trend. All right, this year and 2 years ago, we set a record in membership. We brought in more members into Rotary last year than we have ever done in our history. That's great, but we also set another record. Last year, we lost more members in our history than ever before. And that number was bigger than the first number. That's not a good trend to have. So we are talking more about how to engage members, how to expand our reach and provide opportunities for people to come into the magic of Rotary who otherwise might not. For instance, my club meets at noon, all right, which is great, works for all of our schedules. There's about 40 of us. But I look at the community where we're located, and you know, there are lots of people here in great professional jobs who would be fabulous Rotarians, but they can't get away for 2 hours in the middle of the day. You've got to drive from 11:30 to noon, or if you're at home, you know, it's an hour. And then you have the meeting for an hour, and then you have to drive back. That's 2 hours.
Right.
So some people might be looking at Rotary and saying, "I'd really love to do that, but that doesn't fit in my life circumstance now." Our Council on Legislation opened that door in 2016 when it created all those new models for clubs. We have passport clubs and satellite clubs and e-clubs and cause-based clubs. And all of those are meant to help us expand our reach to allow people who may want to come and join the Rotary experience, if you will, but may not be able to come into our existing legacy clubs. That doesn't mean our legacy clubs are going to go away. They're not. All right. I love my club and I don't want them to change from noon because then it won't work for me. So, but we need to be thoughtful about how to share that magic with other people. So we're talking about expanding our reach. On the flip side of that, we're talking about retention and participant engagement. You know, in addition to having that trend of losing more members than we bring in, we dove a little deeper into that and found out that Rotarians, it's easy for people to be attracted to us, and they do end up coming into our clubs, but it's not as easy to keep them. Something happens between the second and third year, and they suddenly, they came in, they rolled up their sleeves, they were doing service, and then suddenly after the second or third year, they say, this isn't what I thought, this isn't what I wanted, and they take off. So what that suggests is that we have a retention problem. So we really need to get better at finding out why people are coming to our clubs and what they're expecting. One of the best ways that I think we can do that is to do entrance interviews, not exit interviews. Don't talk to them when they're on their way out the door, because you're probably not going to get the right information. Talk to them when they're coming into your club and find out, what are you expecting? Because people join Rotary for different reasons. Some people want to roll up their sleeves and serve. Some people want fellowship. Think about Paul Harris. When he founded Rotary in 1905, it wasn't because he wanted to go build a toilet block in Chicago. It was because he was a young attorney who didn't know anybody in Chicago. He was lonely. So he found some guys and said, come on, let's meet with each other. And the service came later. Some people look at us and say, look at all those professional people. I could really develop. I'm young in my career. I mean, this is a great club for me because I could learn things from people. And then some people look at us, same reason, and say, wow, what a great place to network. Look at all the business people here. So we need to find out, we need to get better at finding out, what is it that people are expecting when they come in to serve? Yeah. And that allows us then to better tailor our club activities, our events, our mission, all the things that we do, our projects, to help satisfy what people are really looking for. When we do that, we have a better chance of them staying and not voting with their feet and taking off. So I hope that answered, that's a long answer.
That was great. Thank you so much. That was so helpful. I have a follow-up question.
Okay.
I've been in my talks with all my clubs, and I have 65. Thank you very much.
Wow.
I have talked to them about starting the possibility. My favorite club model is the satellite club. And, and it's a very interesting model. But I find that people are, especially my legacy clubs that are well established, are very reluctant to do something like that because they're concerned, I'm pretty sure, about seepage, people from the club leaving the legacy club and going to the satellite club. I don't know how to assure them that yes, that dip can happen, and then both clubs will thrive if they work together. And I don't know if that is a universal concern as you talk to other district governors who are trying to promote, innovative club models, or if I'm all alone or by myself.
You're not all alone. We've heard that before. Okay. One of the best things you can do, Charlene, and this is for everybody in the club, if you haven't seen it yet, go to Rotary's video channel, Vimeo, and watch the video called Anytown. It is the best thing that Rotary has ever produced. It's called Anytown, and it talks exactly about that. It talks about if you're in kind of like my story, if you're in a town and you're doing this wonderful stuff in your Rotary club, what are the advantages to reaching out and bringing other people into a new and innovative club? So that might help, Charlene. Other than that, it's just maybe, the word of mouth of successful clubs that have done that and seen that it doesn't take away from your club. It actually gives your club another place to make up. Yes. It gives your club a new energy because many of your members and then can become mentors to that satellite group. So there are a lot of advantages to doing it if you point them out to people.
Yes, thank you. We are, our district has not ventured to satellite clubs or other really innovative models. We tend to have legacy clubs that meet either in the morning, noontime, or evening. So I think part of it is just that we need to start one somewhere so that we have a success story. But thank you very, very much.
Sure. Here's another thought, look at your community and look at your club. If your club mirrors what your community looks like, you have a handle on your future. If it doesn't, you have a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about a club I visited recently up here in Pennsylvania. The best way I could describe it is that it was octogenarians. Everybody was over 80, everybody.
Mhm.
So there I am telling, my story about, invite young members and new professionals, and they're looking at me. And finally, one of them said, Stephanie, look at us. Who in the world would want to come to this club? And I thought for a minute, I thought, let me tell you about reverse mentoring. And they said, what's that? And I said, you are all professional people with lots of years of experience, and you know a lot of stuff, but there are young people in your community who know different things. So I helped them find some young professionals in their community. One was a photographer, one was a cybersecurity expert, and one did something else with computers that I can't remember. And all three of them came to the club meeting together to do a program. And the program was basically, they were talking about how to use, no matter what device you have, how to take better pictures. Well, this club was just amazed because, of course, they're all taking pictures and sending them to their grandkids and doing this and doing that. They loved it. And the young people, the three professionals who were younger, felt so grateful and so welcomed, and were just delighted by the reception that they joined that club. And then they started to bring some of their other members. So that club, happily now, is more diverse. They still have to go a little way to get more females, but the age thing, they're working on it. So
Yeah,
opportunity, okay? Rotary opens opportunities.
absolutely. Thank you.
I have a question regarding the changes with council on legislations with Rotaractors. And I
Yes,
know that there's still some discussion at the director's level as far as having them be included as full members and possibly changing some of the financial requirements for young
Yes.
professionals. Can you
Yes.
update us on what's going on? I know Lou Gordon, our Rotaract chair, is on this Zoom meeting too. And I just started a Passport Rotaract Club that just was chartered in the beginning of July. And my daughter's
Awesome.
the president and my son is the treasurer, and he's in California and we're on the East Coast. So it's kind of like a different model that we're using, the Passport model.
That's great. That's awesome. Actually, yes, when past President Barry Rassin presented that idea to the Council on Legislation, it was approved. Since that decision was taken by the council, the staff and the board has done some extensive research and reaching out to Rotaractors and looking for tolerance levels for dues and all that sort of thing. And it is true that, and I can't remember the exact date, it's either July 1 of 2021 or 2022. I'm sorry, Chris. There's so many dates that fly by me, I can't remember. But I can tell you that the due structure has been set. So for those Rotaractors who are in a university club, the dues will be $5 a year, okay? And for those Rotaractors who are in a community-based club, the dues will be $8 a year. So it's very affordable. It's, certainly something that Rotaractors can do, and it definitely will help us, because you know what? Rotaractors get us. They know what we're about. They're doing the same kind of magic we are. They're just doing it their way in a different kind of club. So I'm excited. I'm so excited about it, and I can't wait for it to happen.
That's wonderful.
So Charlene, hopefully the district will do something too for district dues when it comes to that group too. So something to think about.
Something to think about. Everything is up for discussion.
Well, I will share one other thing with you, which is actually an invitation. You know, in the cycle of Rotary events, there is something that happens annually called a Rotary Institute or Summit. Typically, those things have been held as training for your governors. So Charlene went to an institute or a summit in Atlanta to get prepared for her year. Typically, it's for governors and DGEs and DGNs and past district governors. Because we've had to go virtual this year, the summit, the institute, is open to anybody at all in the zone. If you have ever wondered what in the heck happens at an institute, you have an opportunity to find out. And the good news is it's absolutely free. You may see the background behind me. That's actually fireworks night over Pittsburgh. Our institute was going to be held in Pittsburgh in November, but because of COVID, we've gone virtual, but we're still using Pittsburgh as the backdrop. So if you visit summitofchampions.org, I'll put it in the chat so that you can catch it. You can register. We have amazing speakers. It's Friday evening, November the 20th, and Saturday, November 20th during the day. Peter Salk, who is the son of Jonas Salk, is one of our speakers. We have President nominee Jennifer Jones, the first to be female president of Rotary, is a speaker. John Hugo, our general secretary, is a speaker. We have the Black Mambas from Africa, who are an anti-poaching group. We have a governor from Eastern Africa talking about the explosion in membership in Africa and how they do it. Plus, we have a lot of things that are not necessarily related to Rotary. You know, there's a tradition in Pittsburgh. It's called the parking chair. I don't know if any of you have ever heard about it, but when people in Pittsburgh want to save a space and make someone feel welcome, they take a folding chair and put it in that spot so nobody else can park there. So the parking chair has become a symbol of welcome in Pittsburgh. So we have somebody who's actually going to do chair yoga. Crazy things. There is a breakout session where your director, Stephanie, is going to be making pierogies, which is a Polish traditional food in Pittsburgh. So I'm going to be the sous chef and I'm making pierogies. So that by itself is, you know, worth your time. So again, I'll put that in the chat. If you would like to check it out, I would welcome you to come and take a look. You don't have to.
Anyone tries to do that for the safety of America.
Don't have to leave your home and you can be in your slippers.
Okay. Thank you very much, Stephanie.
Sure.
I'll also share that again tomorrow. I'm going to be sending out an email and I will share that with everyone.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
My husband wants you to share that recipe too, my Polish husband who I can't make pierogies. So you're going to have to send that recipe over to us.
That recipe will be available if you register because Chef Tina gave it to us. So you will get it when you register. And it's awesome. I tried them. I mean, my grandmother made pierogies all the time. But this was pretty good. So tell your Polish husband that that's a good recipe.
Excellent.
Before we sign off, I know there's a debate tonight and some of you may be wanting to watch it. I just realized as I looked on the screen, I forgot to tell you one story. And this is a really significant story, so I want to leave you with it. One of the national immunization days that I participated in was in Nigeria. And since I had already been to India, when they asked me, you know, to what I wanted to do, I said, well, let the people who have never done the drops do that, and I'll do whatever you need me to. So one of the Rotarians said, come with me. We're going into this village, and because you're a woman, this is a Muslim village, you can go into the huts. I need you to check for the purple pinky. So you go into all the little houses and make sure that every child has been vaccinated or, have received the immunization. And if you come out and there are no children that we've missed, then we're going to mark the hut. So that's what I did. I went to 27 huts in this little village, and it was about 120 degrees. By the end of the time, my hair was stringy. There was a little goat following me the whole, So when we finally got done, I said, all right, can I go back to the front? He said, no, miss. No, you can't go yet. You have to come with me to my office. Oh, okay, where's your office? Front of the village. So we trek all the way, and this little goat's still following me. So we get to the office. He brings out this huge book, and he says, you must sign and certify. And I said, what? You must certify. I said, me? I'm just Stephanie Rotarian. What? I can't sign. Yes, you're a Rotarian. You must certify. I said, what am I signing? He said, you are certifying that this village has 100% compliance. It is the first time ever, because we're a Muslim village, and for many immunizations, we have never been able to get all of the children immunized. So while I'm standing there, one of the women in whose little hut I had been comes up to me, and she just said, thank you, and grabbed my hand. And when she pulled her hand away, I realized she had given me a necklace, and it was probably her necklace. She said, thank you, my babies are safe. Now, I will never give this away. In fact, when I pass away, you may find me in the casket with this thing on. It is so special to me, because those are the moments. Those are the moments in Rotary that make me realize I'm doing this because I'm changing the world. And that's what you do when you support polio or any of our foundation programs. I see a hand up from Harvey.
Yeah, Stephanie, on HBO, they had the movie, I guess it was The Final Inch or The Last Inch.
Yes.
Right. Now, in that movie, it showed how the inoculators had to get permission from the elders of the village in some cases to even do anything. Did you ever run into stuff like that?
That happened probably before my visit to Nigeria, because we had trustees who had connections with the Taliban and with ISIS and with all those folks, and so they brokered meetings. One of the things that the Taliban had been telling Muslims was that you shouldn't let your children get the vaccine because they will become sterile. And then there was another group saying that, and excuse my language, just as a quote, that vaccine has the P of President George Bush in it. I mean, all this crazy stuff that they were saying. So by brokering these meetings and then having the clerics come, we were able to get past that. And then what happened is the clerics would let their children get immunized, and then they would say to the villages, look, it was okay. My own children have been immunized. So once that happened, it became less of an issue. But it's still an issue in Pakistan. So anything else while I'm on the phone with you all? Or on the iPad, I should say.
Well, we can't thank you enough. This has been such a fascinating evening. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed every minute of it. Thank you for sharing your experiences with us and inspiring everyone here. And we can
Thank you for inviting me.
That with us and share it. Thank you.
I loved being with you. I wish I could do it in person because you all have better weather than I have in Pennsylvania.
I will be sending you a little memento and of your talk to us, and it's part of what Charlene's gonna kind of talk to everybody about, but I did get one special just for our speaker tonight, Charlene.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very
Well,
much.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Well, this is a good time to talk about it, so let's talk about it. Chris shared an idea with me earlier today, and I said, go for it. You know, I think I mentioned earlier that so many of our clubs, in fact, most of our clubs have been very focused on, you know, coronavirus and COVID relief and working with our food pantries. And polio this year didn't get quite as much attention as it usually does. And so we were talking, and Chris said, gee, I came across this wonderful commemorative coin that the US Mint is putting out. And, you know, we could do a district level project, and the first 100 people who donate $100 to Polio Plus, polio eradication, will receive one of these commemorative coins. And it's a beautiful little coin. I tried to get a picture of it for you, and it just didn't work out. But we're going to be making the announcement tomorrow in an email to the whole district. But we're very excited about this project, and in honor of polio eradication and World Polio Day, today's the kickoff.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So,
And it actually was minted in Pennsylvania.
yes, that's right. I
Uh,
forgot that. Yes, thank you.
So I think it just is appropriate that we send you one of those coins to thank you for speaking with us tonight.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Chris. And what a great idea that is. I may steal it.
It's a good one. Okay, well, thank you. If no one else has anything else that they'd like to bring forward, we'll say good evening and thank you so much for joining us, everyone. And a very special thank you to Stephanie Urchick for
You're welcome.
doing such a wonderful service to us. Thank you very, very much.